Hi, it's Bruce John Dickinson here from WaterBear, and as you know, we use our social media channels in order to help you with your life as a musician, specifically to get you from A to B. Today we're talking about something that people find a little bit tricky. It's how to find the perfect student accommodation at short notice. So I'd like to introduce you all to a very good friend of WaterBear. This is Dan Lyons. Now Dan, you are a musician as well as somebody who has started an accommodation agency.
Yeah.
How did you go from being a musician to actually starting an agency?
I got to a point in my life where you have married, you have children, and music just wasn't paying the bills, so I had to go and do something which was a little bit more conservative. I just bought a little agency. It had no branding, it had no customers really. So the way I've gone about it is to make every mistake in the book, so I can start from a non-corporate way of doing lettings, which was how I would like it to be perceived by other people.
Well, that's amazing, but I know that you guys, you're very student friendly and you actually like to deal with students and you're prepared to put, because you know young people need a bit of extra time and a bit of extra support, I imagine.
Yeah, especially the music students. We've been dealing with music students in Brighton for the best part of 10 years now. It was one of my first demographics that I fell in with, but I completely relate to it because I was that person way before there was music schools and way before there was any support for musicians.
So just give us an overview of the
okay, so it's actually a lot more simple than you think. First thing is you've got to get your group together, because all the houses in Brighton, in order to make it financially viable, they have to be HMOs, which is a student house. So they're going to be between 3 and 6 bedrooms. The more bedrooms in the house, the less you're going to be paying per person.
Amazing. So an HMO is a house of multiple occupancy. That means there's individuals in a house.
Yep, and it's got to be specially licensed for that.
Yeah.
You can't move into an illegal HMO. The Brighton Council are exceptionally hot on this. So once you've chosen your group, either 3 to 6, and make sure you've chosen quite carefully, because 6 months down the line, if you fall out with your housemates, it can be done, but it's a ball ache to make sure that you're going to move into another house.
Yes.
You've got to replace yourself as a tenant, and you're legally bound to that until that point.
Yeah.
So if you're living in awkward situations, you don't want to be doing that.
Dan's going to give us 5 tips to take the stress out of finding accommodation. Tip number 1.
You've got to make sure that you're finding the perfect group. You've got to make sure that the people you're moving in with are people you actually like. If you don't like them, you can move people in and out of a tenancy, but you are legally bound to that for the entire contract. If you don't find someone, you and your guarantor will be liable for the rent for the whole time.
So tip number 2, it'd be really good if you just understand the process and all the steps that you need to do to go from, say, knocking on the door of the accommodation agency to actually moving in. So what are they done?
Okay, so you'll usually find a property on Rightmove or Zoopla or our website or some sort of recommendation. You'll email us a bunch of properties. We will make sure that they are suitable for you. We'll go through the locations, pricings, and make sure it's the right property for you. We will drive you around these houses and make sure that you're making the right choice. You don't want to rush this choice, because you're not buying it, but you're there for a year. So you've got to make it as comfortable as possible. The idea is that you're focusing on your studies, not the bad house that you've chosen to live in. Once you've chosen the house, you've got to come back. You've got to provide a guarantor for each person. If there's 6 of you, there'll be 6 guarantors, 6 equal liabilities for the rent on the house. You'll have to sign a assured short hold tenancy agreement, which in general, all estate agents do it in Brighton. That will make you jointly and severally liable for the property, which means that if tenant 6 doesn't pay the rent, you will be liable. Again, that's going back to point 1. Make sure you're moving in with people who are
responsible.
Yeah, responsible. People you like, people you can trust, people you can talk to. Once you've signed all the contracts, we'll make sure that the house is clean, it's tidy. You'll have your move-in dates, you'll have your schedule of when you've got to make your payments for your deposits, usually a month or so, depending on which agency you're with. Before you move in, that's got to be registered with either My Deposits or the DPS, the Deposit Protection Service. That's really important, because the deposit is always your money. When you move in, you want to see a certificate to prove that. On move-in day, you want to make sure you've got your Deposit Protection Certificate, you want to make sure you've got your EPC, your Energy Performance Certificate. You want to make sure if it's a HMO, you can see cited a HMO licence, a gas safety certificate. Actually, the most crucial part is the inventory. It's a schedule of condition for the property. When you move in, you'll get another one when you move out. Any deductions will be based on the difference between the first document and the last document.
So if you spill coffee on the floor and you ruin a carpet or something or worse, that'll come out your deposit money.
Best thing to do in any situation like that, give it a go at cleaning it. Generally, it's quite easy. You'll have hard-wearing carpets in most student houses.
Yeah.
Or give us a call at the office. We might be able to recommend a good cleaner will come. It's a damn sight cheaper than someone replacing a whole carpet.
No landlord wants to take the deposit away. It's
really
just hassle. And most landlords expect student houses to be reasonably hard wearing.
Yeah.
And You know, so I think it's just play the game and be responsible.
It really is. I mean, my best bit of advice is always just keep communication lines open.
Yeah.
If you've got a problem, call the agency. No matter what agency it is, most of them actually really do want to help you. You know, it's easier to fix something at source than it is to fix it 6 months later.
Tip number 3, here's one from me. Not all letting agents are created equal. And now we're talking about the scene in Brighton, but I think everything that you're talking about applies nationally to the UK. And I think the best thing to do is find the right letting agent in the same way you find the right accommodation. A little bit of care. It's a feel thing, isn't it? You can get a feel for how you're treated in that first.
Talk to people.
Yeah.
When you come down, the student network is a grapevine. The information's out there. You know, you can look on Google reviews. People only ever leave bad Google reviews, so I would disassociate yourself from those. Ask your housemates. Ask her, because they will know people from the year before. Speak to your college. They will know the agents who are, you know, renowned for not doing good things, and ones, you know, who at least will try.
So now let's think about the actual property itself. And Dan, for our 4th tip, how do we actually pick the right property? Something that we're going to be happy living in for the next year.
Okay, you've got to think what you want out of this house. The house has really got to fit the group. If you need a lot of gear, you're going to need a big room. If you don't need a lot of gear, you only need a small room. Yeah. Try not to set your acoustic instruments up, I'm talking drums mainly here, in a house, because your neighbours, they don't like that, especially in the terraced houses if next door's a shift worker at a hospital or something.
Oh, well, that's why we provide a WaterBear, and I think all music colleges should provide drum practice facilities.
Most definitely. Okay, so location. Brighton's a great university city. We've got Brighton, we've got Sussex, we've got BIM, we've got WaterBear, we've got the Art College, the film, we've got everything down
Lots
here.
of international students.
Loads of international students,
Really
we've got EF, we've got all the language schools. So everything is a bus route. So you can get from the outskirts of Brighton onto the centre of Brighton in possibly 15-20 minutes. Night buses go all night. For instance, WaterBear's based bang in the centre of Brighton. If you try and find something around here, you're going to be really paying through the nose, and the houses are smaller, so you'll be down to 2 and 3 sharers, which means you'll be paying, you know, £700 to £800 a month each.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with spreading out.
No,
and some of these areas are very cool, and you could be on the seafront, saves you a lot of money, or you could buy a new guitar.
A new guitar, yeah, GAC is just down the road.
And the final tip is probably the most important one. This is often the first time that people have lived away from home.
Yeah.
So it's not just about bricks and mortar, it's about that support network that you put around yourself as you make that transition.
The natural stance of any teenager leaving home is that, you know, you can handle anything. A lot of the time you really can't. I've lost count of how many times students have not managed that transition well. They don't talk about it to their housemates. It only becomes apparent to me when I see rents coming in late. We've got loads of support networks down here. Get in touch with your GP. We've got Mind. You know, any college or university you're with should have some sort of referral scheme built in for them that you can go and talk to. Worst way, come and talk to your letting agency and just say, look, I'm not handling it. Can you help me? You know, everybody wants to be helping.
And again, it does come back to the friendship group that you've got in the house. If that's a supportive group of people, that all really helps.
I've had BIM students come to me. They don't know each other the day they move in. They've stayed together for 4 years.
Yeah.
And by the time they leave, I'm sure some of them get married and have kids. I've seen other ones that they come up, they all fall out and they hate each other. And it's very easy, like you said before, to just go down that slippery slope, not talking to people, not telling people. There's plenty here to help.
Yes. So some really great advice from Dan there from Brighton Accommodation Agency. And of course, all that advice holds true whatever subject you're studying and whatever town you are studying that subject in. Going back to music, if that's becoming a very important part of your life, give us a call at WaterBear, check us out on the website, and if we can give you some information about our BA Honours degree in commercial music, for guitarists, bass players, drummers, vocalists, songwriters, producers, tour managers, give us a shout. We also do masters for those with a bit more experience. You can study on site and you can also study online from anywhere in the world. Bye bye.